If we take a look at Sui, it's pumped 136% over the course of the last 3 months and 318% in the last year. If we take a look at Aptos, by contrast, 12% over the last 3 months, so more modest, and only 0.6% over the last 12 months. Sui is really giving Solana a run for the top alt layer 1, and we also strongly believe that the Sui token could be the Sol of the 2025 bull run. Okay, so that begs the question, though, why are we now comparing Sui and Aptos? Well, both Sui and Aptos actually have Diem founders from what you may remember as that failed Facebook project. Remember, they were trying to create their own currency, Calibra wallet, all that. Both use the Move programming language as well, and both projects are very well liked, very well respected. But then why is Sui doing so much better than Aptos right now in terms of those snapshots that we just took a look at? If you missed out on the Sui train, could Aptos be an alternative option worth considering? And realistically, how high can the APT and the Sui tokens go? Let's start by comparing the basics of these two blockchains, beginning with the mainnet launches. Sui's mainnet launch was in May 2023. As a result, it's actually still going through its first bull market right now. It's doing very, very well for its inaugural run. And since the mainnet launch, early holders are up to the tune of about 225% since that time, since May 2023. Aptos launched in October 2022, a little earlier. So this is also Aptos' first bull market, similarly. But they had the added challenge of launching during the last bear market, really right in the middle of it. And so I'd argue that because of that, consequently, its holders have seen a more modest 20% ROI in that time. But that being said, since APT's bear market low of $3.21, it's up an impressive 170%. Both of these are high-performing blockchains that take full advantage of the Move programming language. Move is something that we've talked about before. It's an object-oriented language for blockchain use, but it especially lends itself to gaming and NFTs. As far as execution and consensus, both of these chains use parallel execution to increase the scalability of the chain. One difference, though, is that Aptos uses sequential transitions as well. And without getting too technical, I'd say the simplest way to explain the difference here is both have the capacity to open up an extra cashier at the grocery store in order to speed up paying for your groceries when things get busy and lines start to form. On Sui, they always have 6 registers open, in my analogy here, because parallel execution is open all the time. Whereas on Aptos, they have the potential to open 6 registers, but they might only have 2 open at any given time, so its mempool could get backed up and slow down the processing time or scale up slower than Sui's chain. Sui does have a mempool too, just like Bitcoin. Here, it's for all the transactions to sit and wait for a validator to confirm the transaction. But Sui, with its new Misty SETI upgrade, is actually a little bit faster. This is a big deal. Single object transactions are moved through different, faster consensus. And if we were to lean once again on our grocery store example, this is kind of like opening an express lane. So for people with, let's say, 6 items or fewer, they can pay quickly and they can get on with their day. The fact is that both chains run very, very well. And you can only really just give the slightest of edges to Sui. So we're talking like a 52-48 split. At the moment, Sui lists 86 ecosystem projects, while Aptos has 187. So Aptos has more than twice the number of ecosystem projects, but Aptos system as a token is certainly not performing as well as Sui. On the one hand, having more in the ecosystem is a pretty good sign of adoption, and that what you have is working well for other people who are using it, who are into it. But more isn't always better, not necessarily. Better is better at the end of the day, and so this one boils down to quality. Let's take a closer look at some of the top performers that are in both respective ecosystems. Sui has a diverse ecosystem, but it's best known, at least so far, for DeFi and gaming. We actually covered pretty extensively the rise of gaming apps and platforms on Sui, like Amber Studios and E4C. And right now, there's also the industry's most popular handheld gaming device, that is the Sui Play 0x1. Sui's also got Walrus for data storage and Sui Deepin for Deepin infrastructure. And then in the rapidly growing space of AI, we have the Sui AI Launchpad that is used to launch new agents. But honestly, there's not a ton of activity here on this one just yet. It's kind of just getting started. Sui has also moved up a spot in terms of TVL, that's total value locked across all chains. It was at number 9 recently. It now sits at number 8 at just under $2 billion. Navi Protocol is one of the leaders and the place where you can get native USDC on Sui. Aptos' largest category in its ecosystem is infrastructure. And this is a sign really that indicates just how much it cares as a project about having quality developer tools. The overall most valuable project on Aptos, however, after Aptos itself, is the Bonk meme coin, BONK, at $2.3 billion. Aptos-specific apps and protocols are mostly much smaller. And in terms of that scale, that tinier size, we do see opportunities that exist. In AI agents, for example, Aptos does look to be ahead of Sui in terms of development in this space, but both projects are moving quickly to get working agents and infrastructure into the market. Going back to DeFi, Aptos is actually number 11, only 3 spots behind Sui in TVL at just over $1 billion. So it's not far behind, but that $1 billion discrepancy is half the total TVL that Sui has. DEX and Ares lender markets in particular dominate Aptos' TVL, taking up over a third of it. Ares pays 10.6% on USDT deposits, and the Aptos chain supports native USDT as well. If you're a holder of USDT and you weren't aware of this, this is actually a pretty good deal. Sui does not support USDT, but of course it does support USDC. So look, at the end of the day, in terms of ecosystem, if you want more established projects with generally larger values, Sui has more of them. Aptos does have more small cap opportunities right now and larger numbers of small caps. But if we boil this down to the quality argument that I alluded to earlier, this one also goes to Sui. Let's talk tokenomics now. And right off the bat, the first major difference in terms of this variable is that Aptos has a potentially infinite supply. And that's always an issue with me, with us at Altcoin Buzz. It rarely nukes your portfolio like Terra Luna did, to be fair, a couple of years ago, but it's just not a good feature. There's no real benefit to it. The SUI token, on the other hand, has a defined max and total supply of 10 billion. Of that, we have 3 billion, or approximately 30% in circulation. Again, with Aptos, we have an infinite max supply, but a total supply of 1.13 billion, of which 572 million Aptos, or 50.5%, are right now in circulation. And look, that's an okay number, but after almost 3 years of mainnet, we think this number should be higher. And look, despite the fact that the SUI token has that defined max and total supply, that circulating figure is still pretty low, 30%. Its mainnet has been around for 18 months now, so that metric is actually still kind of low as far as our analysis. Both of these projects do monthly token unlocks. With Aptos, it's approximately 1.9% of the market cap, and with SUI, it's 2.66% of the market cap. Sui has about 20% for community and staking, while Aptos has 50%. Really, the overall edge here would go to Aptos, except for that potentially infinite token supply. And on the basis of that, we're also going to have to give tokenomics here comprehensively to Sui, even though it does have some of its own weaknesses, to be fair. Although Sui wins the comparison here by just a little bit, both are well-run, well-formed, and high-performance blockchains. But that being said, really the difference in their market values, the disparity between the project's valuations, their market caps, shouldn't be as high as it is. Sui is at about $13 billion as of this recording, while Aptos sits at around $4.7 billion. Aptos should be higher, to be fair. Both of them ought to be higher, but they ought to be closer together as well. These are two projects that we see could both easily, moderately easily at least, become $100 billion projects, which represents a good 20x for Aptos and the APT token, and about an 8 to 9x for Sui. But with Aptos, you probably do need a little bit more patience to get there. It just doesn't have the momentum and the energy that Sui has right now. We like both projects. We expect both of them to keep growing over the next several cycles. But right now, in terms of everything that's really going well for it, again, the darling of this ongoing bull run, The nod goes to Sui and the SUI token.